So I went down to Wooldale to see what Quakerism was all about. And it was just like going home, because I'd had a look at the records in Wooldale, Quakers, and all my family's there, hundreds upon hundreds. And I found out how we're interrelated with many families in that area. And I felt well at ease as I sat in Wooldale Meeting House. I'd come home, hadn't I? So after a while I asked the Quakers if they would accept me into their midst, which they did, and I was very grateful to them. And I now go on a quite regular basis to Wooldale Meeting House on a Sunday. And I derive great comfort and well-being by visiting there. So that's Wooldale. But when I was searching my records, I realised all the censuses was from 1841 onwards, industrial area time. But just popping back to Wooldale, Joy Broadhead, a cousin of mine at Rotherham, she sent me an email, and she said, "What do you think to this?" And it was a historical record of a Robert de Broadhead, who had bought his daughter Oswina a house at Fulston. Now Fulston is near Wooldale, New Mill, on her marriage to Eric de Wumwell. Now, okay, the next thing I find out, Oswina is in Kirklees Abbey. That's the far side of Huddersfield. Nothing remains of that, well, very little remains of that. The question I was posed with, was Oswina looking after her father at Kirklees Abbey? And was his name then, instead of Robert de Broadhead, was it Robin Hood? Oh, I thought, here we go. This attracted an author who writes about Robin Hood, who came and saw me, listened to my story and said, well, that fits pretty well. I said, don't get excited. Find out where Robin Hood is buried. Get some DNA samples of it and then come and get mine. And then we can talk business. So if you ever see me with a Lincoln green suit walking up and down the Cawthorne area, you will understand the meaning of it. So, back to Bratfield and surrounding area. Our family had lived at Avis Royd near Stocks Bridge. It's on Unshelf Bank. And they had rented a farm off Sammy Fox's, the iron manufacturer, for 200 years. And all the censuses were showing that the family, and a large family at the time, over the years, that stayed there. And then my great-granddad Josh Broadhead. He came to Cawthorne in 1876 and he lodged with the Rusby family on Lower Collier Fold. He was working at the mines down at Barby Furnace. He then eventually married Eliza Rusby and went down to live at Cawthorne Basin. Now, I have a recording, I can't put my hand on it, of our local historian, Barry Jackson. And he'd taken a recording of a man, Will Clarkson, who had lived next door to the Broadhead family down the basin. And he was quite revealing. Although we're not a violent family, we'd never step away from a challenge. And seemingly, in Cawthorne in those days, if there was any problems, they used to fetch the Broadhead family in a horse and cart and take them up to the scene of the problem where they sorted the problem out. It usually was a pub brawl or something like that. And talking about pubs, I was in the Spencers one night and the landlord came across to me and said, "Will you go and sort your grandad out?" I said, "Where is he?" He said, "In the toilet." I said, "What's he doing?" He says, "Go and see." So I goes into the toilet and here's my grandad fighting a young lad, 30 years younger than him. I said, "Come on, Grandad, you silly old bugger, let's get you out of here." Now, my granddad's brother, Albert, he was what they call the cock of Cawthorne. If anybody fancied the chances that there was a place and a time given, it usually was in the churchyard next to the stand-up memorial where they battled it out. Albert never won. Albert never lost. And keeping to Albert, he and his chums were coming back from Barnsley one night in a car, well tanked up, and they hit a lamppost. Okay? Albert was severely injured, but he did get compensation for it. And he started a bucket's business. Now, that time of the day, that was highly illegal. And he used to have a young girl who was a runner, who used to bring bets from Silkstone, a couple of miles away, down the wagon road on a bike. She was stopped many times because the authorities by this time knew there was something going on. But they never found out. Because the clever girl, she used to stick all the bets up the handlebars and put the rubber back on and never thought to look there. Keeping on the subject of Albert, in Cawthorne Museum there is a case, a Victoriana case full of stuffed birds and a mongoose and a fox fighting. And this was in lieu of a bad debt. And Albert had put it into the museum because he only lived in a small cottage and this thing, it's 6x4, full of wildlife. Very interesting. Right, where do we go from here? Well, it's basically Rotherham where we worked in the steel industry and iron industry. We were what we call grinders. We used to put edges on knives and scythes and things like that. and wire drawing, of course, and so all that. And I enjoyed from rather than sent me quite a few interesting things over. One was a murder in the family by a Samuel Broadhead. Oh, I thought, yeah. When I looked at this was 1905. He was found guilty and he was hung at York for murder. I thought, well, you've got to have a murder in the family, haven't you? But he wasn't in the family. Old Benjamin had been recording all these families on different censuses as all his family and called them all Broadheads. But this Samuel Broadhead turned out to be a Samuel Baxter. He was one of the lads who had come in with one of the different wives. So that was that out of the way. But having said that, we had quite a few Broadheads in the past who went on, they like going on cruises. They must have done. Because some of them they went to Tasmania and some to Australia. Government sponsored, if you know what I mean. And never returned, so they must have enjoyed their stay in those countries. But I've talking about Australia, I had a couple, a Broadhead descent, came and stayed with me, 2014, for a week. They were from Australia, but they were from a different line. They were from a line from a Broadhead family in America. Their ancestors had been caught selling whiskey to the Indians. They banged him in jail, but they thought, well, why keep him in jail? We'll send him to the Klondike as a postman. Because at that time, postmen down the Klondike didn't last very long. Anyway, his family turned up in Barnsley in the late, it was 38 they turned up in Barnsley. And he married a tailor woman from Wombwell. The woman brought her sister to live with them. And lo and behold, he made them both pregnant at the same time. Now, we're into the 50s now, so the moral attitude at that time was very strict. So they had to go and emigrate, and they went to Australia. And as I said before, they came last year and visited me. Nice couple. I'm still well in touch with them, like I'm in touch with Broadheads all over the world.